Hey guys, Dad here again. Just waiting to go into an appointment for my foot stuff, so I got a few minutes. One other concept that I was hoping to pass on to you guys also is this idea of what's the proper healthy relationship between our brain, our intellect side of things, and our emotions, our feelings. Because a lot of people have that, it's another thing that a lot of people really get messed up. Now, there was a time in history when there was way more emphasis placed on the intellect and being smart and thinking rationally through things. And if you had, certain emotions, they were not to be trusted, and they could mislead you. And people who were highly emotional were looked down on as something was wrong with them. They should just use their head a little bit, right? That was a long time ago, but we've reached a point in human history in Western civilization where it's swung in completely the other direction, where now it's all about your emotions, all about whatever you feel like, and anything you've got going on inside that's a feeling, that's to be trusted always. Facts, logic, scientific data, that's either completely dismissed or it's all reinterpreted so that it fits within your emotions. And yeah, 100% emphasis is given to your emotions, which I want to suggest, from what I've seen, both of those extremes are very unhealthy. Okay, it's not too hard to see how it's unhealthy to have to just always follow whatever your emotions say and do, to just always do that. It's not too hard to see how that can go sideways for you. In large part, the biggest reason is because your emotions are unpredictable. It's the same for everyone. I have them too. I have bad days. I have days where I feel down and depressed, and I want to make some big changes to life because I don't feel good about this and whatever. But then you wake up the next morning and you feel better. You had a good night's sleep, and then you realize, well, if I had made a bunch of changes based on that, probably would have screwed a bunch of stuff up. But so you gotta keep your emotions at bay. But it's also dangerous to go the other extreme with the just following your intellect and just strictly cold hard facts, completely dismissing your emotions. But again, I don't need to get into that because it's not really a problem these days. Basically, got nobody who's just strictly following their intellect these days, and everything's all about the emotions. So we've gone as a society to both extremes, neither of which are healthy and appropriate. So what's the right and proper relationship between our intellect and our emotions? Because God gave us both of them, and so we actually need both of them, and we gotta work with and use both of them. But how do we do that? How does that work in a way that is healthy, and in a way that's not going to end up destroying us by just picking one or the other and just following it? The example that to me, kind of, I think, illustrates it fairly well. Think of a car engine. Okay, now a car engine on its own is a chunk of metal, right? It's cold, hard, and it doesn't do anything on its own. That's the important thing. On its own, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. It's a really exotic paperweight, if you want to think of it that way. And that's kind of like our intellect, right? On its own, it doesn't do much of anything. It's just cold, hard, dead weight, if you will, right? Now think of gasoline as our emotions, right? On its own, you take some gasoline and you put a little bit of some kind of spark nearby, and you get a massive explosion and destruction and chaos, and things are burning down, and it's so it's not cold, hard, dead weight. It's high energy, lots of energy, uncontrolled energy, and it's destructive, just all bad stuff, again, on its own. But put them together, wow, now suddenly things get interesting, right? Because you've got the cold hard engine, which in a sense, if you think about an engine, it's got the cylinder in the middle and the piston. What it's doing is it's putting constraints, boundaries around the emotions, really is what it's doing. If you look at how an engine is designed, it's essentially a containment unit, a boundary for the explosive energy of the gasoline, right? So you need those boundaries, you need those limitations, you need to place limitations on your emotions. And then there's also the piston, and the piston is the thing that uses the emotions. It takes the power that comes from the fuel, and it turns it into something productive, right? Gives us a means of driving around, getting from A to B. I'm sitting in a car right now. I'm on going to an appointment for my foot, right? But I got here because of the combination of the cold, hard engine, which places limitations and boundaries on the high energy, explosive gasoline. On their own, they would have been useless. The engine would have got me nowhere, and the gasoline probably would have killed me, right? Put them together in an appropriate way. Now you have a productive tool that is contributes to the the betterment of humanity, right? Let's get around. After this, I'm going to go drive to work, make a living, right? This is important stuff, good stuff. That to me is a good illustration of an appropriate relationship between our intellect, our head, and our emotions, our heart, right? You can't just live on the intellect alone, or you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to do anything, right? It's all about understanding the truth and setting up boundaries of, well, this is true, that's not true, we have to live according to this, whatever. But it doesn't have any fuel, doesn't have any energy to inspire and motivate you to go somewhere, right? Emotions on their own inspire all kinds of energy, but without some kind of direction and boundaries and limits, it's explosive, it's destructive, it ruins people. So if you pick one or the other, that's unhealthy, that's not good. You're either going nowhere or you're destroying everything. Put them together in a healthy way where you put boundaries on your emotions, but you allow the emotions to add energy, and you give them the freedom to do that. Now you've got a healthy balance. Now you've got a life that's more directed toward flourishing. But part of what that means then is you have to listen to your intellect, and sometimes your emotions have to be bounded and limited and pointed in a certain direction. They want to go every direction, but you got to say no, we're not going in every direction, we're going in this direction where the piston goes, right? So find a way to balance those two, and I think you'll do well in life.